This is from Reuters. U.S. consumer confidence fell to its lowest in 4 months in August on worries over high unemployment and dismal personal finances. Though the mood changed to improve from earlier this month, well, that's not much good news there. The Reuters University of Michigan surveys of consumers said its final index of confidence for August fell to 65.7 from 66 in July. That was the lowest since 65.1 in April, but above the economist's forecast for 64.5. Confidence rebounded in late August as consumers increasingly expected improving conditions in the national economy, even as they reported the worst assessments of their finances since the survey began in 1946. No surprise there.
No, not a bit.
Swiss bank, the U.S. overestimates its attraction as a financial center, advising its clients to get out of all U.S. securities. Swiss private bank Wagellen announced Tuesday that it is to stop doing business in the United States. The St. Gallen-based bank, Switzerland's oldest bank, said the decision had been taken in response to stricter measures introduced in the U.S. against tax dodgers and planned changes to estate tax, which would make some non-U.S. citizens liable to tax if they inherited U.S. securities. In a letter to investors, it said Swiss banks were likely to find themselves in an untenable position, as they would be expected to know which clients were liable to pay U.S. taxes, an impossible undertaking given the lack of clear definitions in the matter. The danger of inadvertently making false declarations to U.S. tax authorities would be too great, it explained. It added that it believes the U.S. overestimates its attraction as a financial center, and it's advising its clients to get out of all U.S. securities. The decision comes a week after U.S. tax authorities reached a deal with the Swiss government, which will see bank UBS handle details of almost 4,500 suspected tax sheets.
Maybe they're listening to Bob Chapman.
Maybe they are. Or the real news. In the tank forever, U.S. consumers, retailers in a death spiral, Davidwitz says. Retail maven Howard Davidwitz paid another visit to TechTicker this week, and despite signs of an improvement in U.S. consumer confidence and retail stocks rising, Davidwitz is steadfast in his belief the consumer is dead. Rather than summarize, let me just highlight some of his best one-liners. On retail. The retail business is terrible. It's almost negative. We're going to close hundreds of thousands of stores. On the consumer. They're still over-leveraged, they're losing their jobs, and their credit has been cut back. On America. We are in the tank forever. As a country, we are out of control. We're in a death spiral. On the stock market, we're in terrible shape. That's what the fundamentals tell me. I can't explain the stock market. But it's not all doom and gloom, believe it or not. Davidwitz, who runs a retail consulting firm, Davidwitz and Associates, thinks certain discount retailers, grocers, drugstore chains, and a select few department stores can survive and prosper in the future. Most notably, he likes extreme discounters like Family Dollar.
Well, until we have job creation in this country, which, as we've stated before, the manufacturing base has evaporated all by design. It was all exported to China and Mexico and everywhere else through NAFTA, GAFTA, and GATT. Until there's job creation, how are we going to come out of this recession? They can print money by the trillions. They can let the Federal Reserve loot the Treasury. They can continue this precipitous decline in our economy, but until we have jobs, we cannot come out of this recession. They can do cash for clunkers, cash for refrigerators, cash for stoves, cash for water hoses, cash for gravel. I mean, they can get down to cash for dirt, I guess. But a paper currency at some point tends to return to its true value, which is that of the paper, and that's where we're taking our dollar. And well, I know you've got a report on it. We've reported on it before. The deficit of just this year approaching $2 trillion. I mean, If this thing's not turned around, where is America headed, people? And that's why we're calling on everyone to come out and join us on September 12th downtown Statesville to at least let our voices be heard. And there is a huge protest in Washington, D.C. on that same day.
Actually, Farron, there is a cache for refrigerators coming up. I read that.
I saw some of that cash for appliances. I mean, where's it going to end? That's how ridiculous that is. And like we said, if there's a boom in auto sales, it's going to result in a bust in auto sales. You know, everyone that bought them in a month, then you're going to have 3 months of slow time. It's not helped anyone. And then, of course, we've went through the actual savings in fuel versus crushing the vehicles and manufacturing a new one. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's for the government to appear that they're doing something. They're playing the role of the savior once again, where if they would just quit meddling, get out of the free market. You know, George W. Bush said, I have to abandon free market principles to save the free market. What does that mean? What is that? You know, it's ridiculous, and the American people go along with it. And I wanted to report this past week, Ivanhoe, U.S. headed toward revolution. The overreaching of the federal government is pushing the U.S. towards a revolution, said Senator Jim Ivanhoe, Republican of Oklahoma. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. People are not buying these concepts. They're completely foreign to America. He said at a town hall in Chickasaw, Oklahoma, we are almost reaching a revolution in this country. Ivanhoe has been one of the Senate's most strident opponents of climate legislation and health care reform. He also added that he didn't need to read the full health care legislation before deciding to vote against it. Public opinion and news reports, he said, provided all the information he needed. I don't have to read it or know what's in it. He said, I'm going to oppose it. Most of the versions of the health care legislation making their way through Congress are about 1,000 pages long. Again, government creates all these false enemies to manipulate the population, and we better come out and oppose government-run health care when we've got a government that has run our economy into the situation it's in, run up a $12 trillion national debt, and when we had David Walker on, he said we had over $50 trillion and entitlements and money promised, and all this is going to come to bear. But here we've got a senator, and you know, last week we reported Representative Brown from Georgia was saying that swine flu may be used to facilitate martial law in America. I mean, these are terms we used to not hear. We used to talk about a possibility, but we never heard our representatives actually say we might see martial law or we might see revolution. And the government, if they keep pushing, the American people, apparently, from what's happening at these town hall meetings, are going to start pushing back. And I hope we'll have a great turnout on September 12th.
That's one of the American citizens' downfalls and one of their strengths at the same time, is their complete lack of patience in wanting of instant gratification. If, you know, the economy collapses, they're going to be, you know, upset fast. And what's this going to lead to? And it doesn't look good.
Well, we've got a lot of people in this area, people that I know, that are upset now because they either don't qualify for unemployment. Unemployment's run out. There's no jobs. Like I've said here before, I've had more people look for a job since January 1st of this year than I did in 20 years in business. And if you've got half of the people working so the other half can sit down, it's doomed to fail. Kennedy passed away this past week. I'm not going to speak ill of the dead, but the whole time he was a senator, his whole program was to take money from those that worked and give it to those that didn't. And I believe that it's contrary to the concepts in the Bible of Jesus Christ, where he said, if you don't work, you don't eat, and a person that doesn't take care of his family is as bad as an infidel. So we've really got ourselves in a situation here in America, and it doesn't have to be this way if we had some common sense in the government. So we've got just a couple minutes before we go to break. When we come back in the next segment, we've got a clip that we want to play for you. We've played this gentleman before. He claims to be Thomas Paine, and it's very, very interesting. This was sent to us by a listener, and I always like to see what he's up to. I think you'll enjoy it, but we're going to be doing that after the break. Again, since we've got just a minute before we go to break, next month, we are going to be doing our War Powers Act, Constitution, A Search for the Truth. We've got some really good guests lined up. I hope everyone will find it interesting. And starting next week, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., Liberty News Radio Network, all the different affiliates. The real news will be on Monday through Friday and